Haley and Dave Burton and some of these crazy like older musicians around Halifax. And then just in general, like, you know, Jimi Hendrix's message was just oneness and peace. And then you have this black guy up on stage who's just shredding guitar and just dry humping it and just like setting it on fire and just like the craziest shows ever. And like you have people of every ethnic background at his shows by the tens of thousands. It's like such a diverse crowd. Like everyone just resonates with that music, that experience, that like that groove. Everyone's dancing to it, you know. It's just like that art can unify people, and it's kind of because like I feel like art just speaks to this. I think when art is inspired, it's coming from this deep part within somebody, where it's almost like the person, at least in experiences where I've had it, and I've had this when I've been on mushrooms before, playing guitar, where like I've lost sensation in my hands of playing guitar. I lose total awareness of the fact that I'm playing guitar. I like slack my head back, I'm closing my eyes, and then I just, as far as I'm concerned, I'm just listening to this music.
Yeah.
And then everyone else in the room seems to be like this too, and then eventually I hiccup because I fucking remember that I'm the one playing it, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I just like, you know, you stutter and you fuck up, and it's like, it's just the hose gets a kink in it.
Yeah.
Like for that period of time, it's like you're just this conduit for this creative expression just to flow through, like seamlessly to you and your instrument, seamlessly to you and your paintbrush, seamlessly to you and like, I don't know, the character you're performing in a drama or something, or like, you know, someone building a house or whatever that case might be. I think like the idea is to have this like seamless connection to the act of creation without like self-consciousness of any sort. It's just like a straight flow. And I think like the really amazing musicians like Jimi Hendrix, you just see it on stage. He's just like, he's not in control. There's no him anymore. Matt when he's playing.
I always love watching Matt play.
Oh yeah, the dancing and like it's just like you just become the music and the dance and everything. And there's no like that guy is just gone. And I've had that experience before too. Like the first time I ever played a show, it's what hooked me on music when I was younger. It was like I just completely like dissolved into the sound of the band, and I wasn't there. It was like, it was just the band, and you just like dissolve into this superorganism that's performing this fucking music and or whatever. But anyways, I think that like when someone like an artist is inspired from that place and it comes out that genuinely and that unadulterated, but just like through this like the unique expression of the individual, then like when like that person is doing that on stage in front of tens of thousands of people, it hits all those people in the same place that it's coming from that person. It like hits you right into the depths of your being, and people just lose themselves in the music at a concert. And it's like and I think that like that losing yourself, you know, you lose every, like I'm not thinking about my job or my bills or my history or my identity as a man or a human. I'm not thinking at all. I'm just seamless in this experience. And I think like the artist is like one of these people who can like, you know, like just the artist serves a crucial role in culture, I think.
Yeah, and it's interesting you point this out, because I've been thinking about that a lot. From what is the value of art in society? Because a lot of times we have some amazing support for arts in our society, but it's certainly, you know, it's seen by, I think, a lot of people though as something that's just an option. It's nice to have, but it doesn't really like serve for everyone the same purpose that it does for like when we all go to a show and we're really into the music. Like there's some people who don't really get that, and it's not that I believe that they can't. I think there's an element of our culture that almost seeks to repress that in people.
Well, it's weird because I thought about this about it, like in response to something you said earlier. I can't remember exactly what it was you said, but it got me thinking about this like constant problem that culture is trying to solve. Like, one of the things that Peterson really smartly points out, I think, is not that I should be any measure of what's smart, but one of his points is that culture is constantly negotiating. Like I kind of visualized it as being on a balance beam. It can either like fall off to the left, which is like falling off into anarchy and just chaos, or falling off to the right, where it just turns into North Korea, an absolute dictatorship, too much structure. It's this constant balancing act of like the renewed, rejuvenated, youthful, creative, like, you know, the new and the novel, and therefore the chaotic, versus the structure that is moving slowly through time, like the structure of the government and the culture and the rules and the morality and like just the overbearing structure. If it becomes too structural, it becomes a tyranny, and if it becomes completely without structure, then it just descends into chaos. And so the culture is, like the ideal culture is just, you know, walking that tightrope, and it is a thin tightrope. I think like it's all too easily skewed off in one direction too hard that just, you know, is bound to head that direction. And well, that's just like a constant problem that ever since we've had a culture, we've had that problem. So I'm not sure what the right answer is, but it's like you know, my friend Kirk, you know Kirk.
Oh yeah,
Kirk Dodds.
Shout out to Kirk!
Yeah, check out The Outliers, Kirk Dodds rock and roll motorcycle rock and roll band. And he sent me this interview that was Frank Zappa on this show from back in the days, like in the 90s, this interview I think, and it was just like this political setup for dialogue, and they had a guy from the left and a guy from the right. Crossfire, yeah, that's what it was.
Oh my god, I saw that interview.
So they had this guy and this other, and Frank Zappa, and they were talking about the government wanting to legislate and censor certain lyrics and music, like, and genres of music. Ultimately, I'm sure it would have escalated towards that. And like Frank Zappa's whole point was just like, we're talking about words. You can't be legislating the words we use. And they're just like, you are, and this one guy who was opposing Zappa's point was just saying like, are you like for incest and sexual ambiguity and all that stuff? And he's like, I'm not for it. I'm saying like we have free speech, and you should, this, like, you know, it's whoever's choice it is to sing about that stuff, and then it's my choice to either buy it or not and support it or not. But like, I can't stop him from expressing those things because that's just impeding on everyone's freedom to do that. And it's like, it's not that's the thing about freedom, is that it's not like pleasant, it's not nice to have freedom. It's like, it's difficult and hard, and like, you're gonna have to hear people say things that are insane that you don't agree with, but it's because they have freedom of speech, and because people are free, you're just gonna have to deal with like whatever, just deal with it. Maybe you should focus on, maybe we should focus on, maybe I should just focus on like my own like discerning capabilities to like filter and criticize and analyze and, you know, fact check and background check information that comes my way. It's like, it's all of our responsibility to inform ourselves about the things that we're trying to talk about, and when we get into territory where, like, when I'm asking you questions about like cell biology and cancer research and shit, I don't know fucking anything about that stuff. I don't even know how a cell works, like, you know. And so I have this incredibly loose, like, dull, shitty, like, low resolution framework for like the things you're talking about, and
I know very little about cholesterol, just so people listening aware. I hope that's, I'm not an authority on cholesterol.
Mike's not an authority on cholesterol.
Yeah, just so you're clear, I probably butchered my explanation.
Not that I would fucking know. Oh, good to it.
I'll be quick.
Yeah. But anyways, you know, it's like, so hopefully in situations, it's just trying to like admit when I don't know what I'm talking about and ask questions. I can't count the amount of times when I was learning how to roof, like, just asking James. I would just preface every question with like, I don't know anything, so therefore I don't even know how stupid this question is. I'm assuming it's stupid and basic, but I literally have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. And I just tried to make that as obvious as possible, and I just took in everything. I asked questions about every fucking thing I saw, like every little thing. Just like whether something was slightly off by the tiniest little angle, I would fucking point it out and ask about it. And like, just anything I didn't completely understand, I asked a question about. I'm sure it was annoying as fuck for everyone to deal with, but I learned how to do the job fast. Like, that's how you have to, like, when you're learning something new, you have to just be humble and take instruction from the people who know what they're talking about. And ask a lot of questions. If something doesn't make any sense to you, immediately point it out and ask. And don't be afraid to look like a fucking idiot. I think I suffered from that when I was in public school. I just, like, you know, I was like any other kid. I was too afraid to, like, single myself out as being the kid who didn't understand what was going on in class, so I wouldn't ask questions. I still did fairly well in school. I could have done better, but something I've learned since being in school, like, to just, like, you know, ask questions and not be afraid to be an idiot, because the fact of the matter is I am a fucking idiot and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, so I need to...
Asking questions is like the most important thing you can do. It's if you're too scared to ask a question, you won't learn. That's something I can attest to.
It's like, and you know, then you're not doing yourself any favors, because you just have to stay as stupid as you are now for the rest of your life, because you're not asking and learning anything else. It's like my dad is when I say my dad, I mean my stepdad. He raised me, so like he's my dad, but he's like 53 or something, and he was telling me just things like you know, one of his biggest regrets was he wished he had to listen to his parents more. He wished he had to ask them more questions and like talk to them more, and like it's just like, you know, when that kind of wisdom comes from someone who's like 3 decades older than me, it's just, who am I to fucking deny that? And especially when it just makes sense. It just makes sheer logical sense to be asking questions and being humble and stuff. But I think it's a tricky slope. Like this might segue into a whole different topic of discussion, but
that's a really good point.
That's a good point. My mom was listening to podcasts too, and her comment was that I burp a lot. So that's all I know.
I saw that comment.
Yeah. So, you know, I feel like no one fucking told me a thing about what being in my 20s was going to be like. It was just like this crazy trick that everyone just tells you, like, and you just wind up in this nutty situation where you've moved out for the first time, like in your late teens, and well, I can't say that, because another thing my dad told me was that he knows people his age who have never moved out of their mom's house.
Dear God.
Dear God is right. 53, never moved out of mom's house.
If they're happy, but I'm just saying,
There's no way they're happy. There just can't be. It just can't be. Perhaps I'm naive. But
have them on the podcast.
There's no way they don't get the satisfaction of like surviving on your own. Anyways, like, so I don't know. My theory would be that you just stay infantile the whole time. You're relying on that other person to take care of you. Anyways, that's what I was talking about. I feel like I don't know, for some reason I remember the subject matter as a kid always being about like, just wait till you're 30 and all of a sudden everything makes total sense and you're like, oh shit, I was stupid when I was 20. And then same thing about being 40 and 50 and probably 16, 17, I don't know. Maybe after 70 you start getting stupider or something. But it's like, so anyways, my point being, I don't remember my parents talking about their 20s to me much. Like, just, and not like, I'm doing an awful job at this. I feel like they talked to me about like objective, like just, you know, events and stories that happen, but like they never talked to me about, and maybe this is just because I didn't experience it, maybe it's just something I'm going through, maybe you guys can relate or you can't, I don't know, but just like the phase of like you're off in the world on your own for the first time, and it's like, it's just a huge wake up call. It's like, whoa, I gotta be taking after my shit, taking care of my own business, and making things happen and making sure I get, you know, food to eat and place to live and rent and just handling all that stuff and growing up in all those ways. And then also just like, you know, going through this huge phase of just uncertainty, like, you know, those times where you're running out of food, those times where you're not going to make rent, those times where like you're slacking in school because you're trying to work, trying to make rent and pay for food, and like, and then also not being entirely sure about like what you're doing in life, and this crazy new nihilistic age we're going through, and like crazy stimulation and advertisement all the time from things and cell phones, and just being, maybe it's just like a lot of it is being a young person in this era. It's just, you know, a whole new thing too.
But they had their, like,
I'm sure they had their equivalents of just being like in this weird semi-juvenile, semi-becoming an adult phase where you're on your own and you're not certain of anything to do with the future, and you're just like all these, you know, it's just a crazy phase to go through. And I think like a lot of people in their early 20s are negotiating through this like nuttiness, and it's like, I don't remember getting the scoop on it at all.
Yeah.
And I don't even think I do have the scoop on it. It's just it's been intense and full of trials. But that being said, I can't help but think about the fact that I'm a man and I haven't been in a war yet, and I'm 24 years old. Like, I feel like perhaps the statistic is wrong or my assumption is wrong, but I think that like statistically over history, it'd be most likely that I would have fought in a war by now or something, or died in a war by now if I was like born in other times in history. I mean, there definitely were peaceful points, but
There's always tomorrow.
there's always tomorrow.
You
And I
never
feel like
know.
what if war broke out tomorrow? I'd just be
That's-
off the war. You know what I mean? Like,